I'm really happy to be here, and I do think it's a little bit provocative for somebody to talk to a sales audience about the future of sales being marketing. And it's obviously very intentional. We've come to these events for years, and they seem to be about two different things, right? The future and change. Whether it's the future of technology, the future of sales, the accelerating pace of change, the reality is, it's kind of like the old adage of transform or die. Am I right? So there's a lot of people still in this room, so that's a good thing. So we're not dead yet. But the other piece of it that helps me feel comfortable talking to you about this is I've lived in both worlds. I've been both on the sales side, the sales management side, sales training, and also on the marketing side. So I think I have a decent understanding of what marketing needs to deliver to sales in order to improve their effectiveness, and then what new skills and capabilities sales needs to adopt in order to be more effective, because it is a changing world. So let's look at how we need sales to become more like marketing and vice versa. After 20 years of sales and sales management positions at companies like IBM and Siebel and now SAP, 3 years ago I took my first real marketing job, true soul marketing job, running marketing for North America. And I of course did it with a sales executive's view and a 20-year-old view of what marketing was all about, right? And this cartoon sort of demonstrates that. It's about throwing parties, we got tickets to skyboxes, we can do fun events and concerts. And while I'm kidding, sort of, I did quickly realize that the modern marketing techniques of today are so vastly different than from what I remember and was trained as an early sales rep at IBM and then growing up through the ranks, that it was unfathomable. I mean, the way we're using data and insights and all that information that's available to you now, it totally changes the game. And the interesting piece is that it doesn't just change it for marketing. It really does change it for sales. And so we've talked a lot about that. Everybody's been talking about the collaboration of sales and marketing. And I want to talk about how they're going to be a complement as we move through this. So you've seen this stat a number of times today, right? Serious Decisions says B2B buyers spend more than 2/3 of their buying journey without ever talking to a vendor. In some cases, it's as high as 90%. And we'll talk about an example that I think demonstrates that. 75% of people start their process with a search. 76% of people will use peer or networks, peer reviews, networks to go get information about your products. So instead of relying on us, the ones who know about our products and our offerings and our solutions better than anybody else, because we're the salespeople, they're out there becoming secret shoppers, keeping us at arm's length, and they're formulating opinions about all of our products and services based on what they, relative to their needs, but it's independent of our influence, okay? So this is the buyer's journey. Us, the 12 marketers, I think, that are in the room, we know that it's the buyer's journey. But independent of your influence, I knew when I was selling at IBM and at Siebel, I wanted to control my customer, right? My objective was to spend as much time as I possibly could with that customer because that was time they couldn't spend with my competitors. So if I was in an event or in a sales cycle, I'd be pummeling them putting in information. I'd be taking them to dinners. I'm just trying to keep them active on my stuff 24/7. But that clearly, as you've heard a lot about today, does not work anymore, right? Those traditional methods are going away. There's still relationship. People buy from people. But those traditional methods are going away, and we're losing control. We're control freaks that are losing control. It's a little like my mother after I got married. So I think the first thing that we need to do is get marketing and sales on the same page. Serious Decisions says that sales enablement is the #1 ask of marketing amongst salespeople. However, if I ask most of the marketers in the room, and I ask my team this all the time, they believe that awareness and demand generation is their main responsibility. Right? So right there, we have an immediate disconnect. So show of hands, how many of you believe, and Gerhard did this earlier this morning, so I'm just bringing it back because he stole my presentation. No. How many of you believe you have good alignment between sales and marketing in your companies? You define good alignment. Maybe you're learning through the course of the day because there's a lot fewer hands that have gone up. Okay. So for those of you that didn't raise your hand, you're not alone. I would say it might have been about 8% that raised their hand. Forrester says that 8% of marketers and salespeople have good alignment. That B2B companies say 8%. Like I saw that and I thought it was a typo. I actually had we called Forrester because I wanted to make sure that the research was right. It seems so crazy low. But I think that one of the main reasons, and I would submit that enablement, as we've talked about a lot today, was just talked about, that was a great presentation, by the way, is a key factor. And the key is that sales enablement today has changed, and the salespeople, with all due respect, may not get it. So you're asking of your marketing organization the wrong things. So you don't even realize you're asking for the wrong stuff. And therefore, the stuff that marketing is working on thinks that they can deliver. There's just this big disconnect. So we've got to try to get better alignment between what sales needs and marketing delivers. And then we need to modernize, again, the sales professionals toolkit, right? So that you can get that greater influence throughout that self-serve buyer's journey. There's no way to regain that unless you start using the tools and start getting your information out into the various places where where buyers are going. In essence, that's where you become the secret seller. So you need to compete with the secret buyer on a secret selling basis. So I came up with 3 principles. At SAP, I don't know if you've seen it, you will, we're all about simplification now. So earlier you saw the Wharton professor had 6 principles. I've only got 3. And I call them 1 flag, 1 voice, and 1 focus. And it's really about the collaboration between marketing and sales and what we can do better. So, quick story. After my first quarter as the head of marketing, I was asked to go to an executive offsite and present the marketing business, right? Head of sales for North America said, come on, we want to see how marketing's been doing. And I was pretty stoked because our numbers were fantastic, right? All of our Harvey balls were green across the board. Everything was filled out. Our pipeline value, volume, net new, everything from a marketing standpoint was terrific. And so I was feeling pretty good at the end of my presentation, and the head of sales stood up and he said, hey, Dave, welcome to marketing. Congratulations. I'm glad that you're doing great. But North America missed its number. And unless North America succeeds, nobody succeeds. And I was kind of like, tail between the legs, walking off the stage. He was right? I mean, I was new to marketing, so that's one excuse. But I was so focused on ensuring that my new marketing team understood that I could help take them to the next level, and that I was going to use all that sales experience and bring a different perspective. And I got focused on funnel math and filling pipeline jars, putting red beans in red jars, yellow beans in yellow jars. And I missed the fact that, I was all about demand gen, and what the business really needed me to focus on was acceleration and close. And I could have done it, easily done that, but I hadn't taken the time and I had missed that step to align with the sales organization on the things that they felt were important. So I'd failed my sales colleagues, and it's never happened again. So, and it's not going to. But this is where the principle of one flag comes into place. So I think marketing and sales, no matter what you do, and we talk about leadership, and you can tell people from the mountaintop, but you got to be willing to win together and to lose together. I think marketing needs to stay close to the pulse of the business, but this by no means, you also have to be flexible so that if your plans need to change to support the business, that's fine, but it's not about taking orders from sales. And I mean that very dearly to both marketers and salespeople. It's not about taking orders, right? But it's about being flexible enough to say, hey, listen, I can go there with you. If that's what you need this quarter, that's cool. We can do that. We can change some of our priorities. We can look at a campaign that might fill this gap, right? But it's an opportunity for both of us to get on the same page. And you can no longer put a marketing plan in place and do, I can't remember what that old rotisserie chicken thing was, but the set it and forget it, right? You can't do that with marketing plans anymore. They become stale. Our business, everything's moving too quickly. As you've seen in all the presentations, the world's moving too fast for us to have an annual marketing plan that's really going to hold water that you think you can do in January and be good. So we're often redesigning and putting different tactics in at SAP on a quarterly basis. And I even had to change my organizational structure to support it, because I wanted to be in control of our own destiny, but also be able to react to the needs of the business. The other thing that one flag stands for is about trust. And I think trust comes from accountability and from being present. You need to have a mutual understanding of each other's goals. You have to respect each other, marketing and sales. So there's got to be that level of feeling like, hey, listen, I want you to win, and I want you to win. So you need the accountability, but for me personally, I try to hold my marketing team extremely accountable to showing their value to the sales organization on a daily basis. Because I know if I do that, that they're going to have a seat at the table in everything important. And there's nothing better than having a seat and not having to ask for it. So for you sales leaders out there, I would challenge you that if you haven't or you don't include your head of marketing or your marketing lead in your offsite meetings, in your pipeline meetings, in your forecast calls, in your team meetings, do it. Do it. It's an immediate way to create a connection, and you may gain some perspectives that you haven't had. And you get out of this siloed mentality of talking about each other. So that brings us to number 2, which is one voice. So I mentioned earlier that the definition of sales enablement has changed forever. And in the past, I think it was about product briefs and presentations and maybe some price lists, right? And today it is about marketing enabling sales with digital, social, and content-driven behaviors. You got to get the right information to the right salesperson via the right channel at the right time. And they need to get that out into the wire during that self-serve buyer's journey. It means marketing needs to help with things like social selling, which is actually a term I haven't heard yet today, but it's a popular industry term. And it's the new door opener. Social selling is all about leveraging the existing tools that you may know about, things like LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube, but also the new ones that are up and coming. And I don't know how many of you know about Buffer and Feedly and Quintly. You may have heard of SlideShare. But we need to, all salespeople and clearly marketers need to be digital natives. You need to have a digital native mindset. We defined digital native before. You got to be a 20, 30, 40, 50-something millennial. It's how we're going to survive going forward. And you've got to do it in an authentic and an influential way. So, quick show of hands. and this is just to talk about the difference between the influence and the hard sell, but anybody bought a car in the last 12 months? How about the dichotomy of the influence and the hard sell when it comes to buying a car, right? And the ability that you now have to leverage all the social selling tactics. I mean, I know I did it, right? And I probably had 95% of my information already done and my decision made before I ever walked into that dealer because I knew what was coming, right? You know exactly what's coming when you hit the lot. I got God love him, a 21-year-old kid, you know, pimply-faced kid who was trying to tell me all the great things about the Toyota Camry hybrid. I'm like, dude, it's not a Ferrari. I got it. I'm good. How do we get out of here? I got 3 kids I got to pick up in like 30 minutes. And, you know, and then I got to the financing manager, right? And marketing has done a good job with the financing manager because these are the old stalwart car salespeople that they freak you back out. Like I thought I had everything good. And there's like, you know, 10 different cosmetic insurance plans and wheel and tire damage and upholstery this and that and extended warranties. And I'm like, come on. But the point is, right, sales and marketing have to work together. They did a great job on the marketing side. And on the sales side, you just had to make sure that they didn't push me too hard to make me walk. Because you know what? I had 95% of my job, 95% of my work was done. I didn't want to walk. But I was also getting to the point of being too uncomfortable. And so you don't need people. What you can't do is devalue the work that's been done throughout the cycle, or else you're going to get people to turn away. So we've talked about one flag, we've talked about one voice, and now let me talk about something we call one focus. This might look familiar to some of you. How many of you have heard of Francis Fry? I got one. Jim doesn't count. He's with me in the back. Okay, so Francis Fry is a professor at Harvard Business School, and she curates the HBS curriculum currently. She's the up-and-comer. She's unbelievable. She's a studette. She's awesome. But she routinely talks about one key to delivering outstanding customer service is to dare to be bad. And what it means is having the courage to prioritize and focus on the important things while having the discipline to be bad at the less important things. Disproportionately good at certain things, disproportionately bad at other things. She claims, and she's worked with a lot of companies in service management around this concept, but she claims that if you try to be excellent at everything, you will end up in a state of exhausted mediocrity. And I know as a big company guy, I've felt that way a number of times, whether it be in the role, whether it be, you know, in the situation I was put in. Exhausted mediocrity. There's never enough. There's never enough people. There's never enough time. There's never enough money, and the expectations are always too deep. So she says, if you want to be a 3 on a scale of 1 to 5 in all categories of customer experience, it's really pretty easy because you don't need to know your customer very well. Just go ahead and be average at everything, and you'll probably end up being average at everything. But if you want to be disproportionately good at the things that you believe are most valuable and disproportionately bad at the things that are not as important, then it's really important that you pick right. So Walmart is one of her case studies. And Frances uses a customer experience map when she goes in and talks with these customers. And they stack rank based on who they believe they want to be in the market, what their brand value is, et cetera, the important categories from a scale of 1 to 10. And when she was working with Walmart, you know, their priority map looked as you would expect, right? Price, convenience of store location, cleanliness of bathroom, breadth of product, down to the bottom, which is things like ability to find product on the shelf, ability to find somebody to help you, et cetera. So here's the example that she tells. It's 10 o'clock at night, you're sitting on the couch, and your spouse, friend, significant other asks you to go to Walmart to pick something up for them. You're deep in a presentation, you're deep in a ball game, you're deep in a meal, maybe you're in bed. So you're a little frustrated. And you're a fancy person. So we're all fancy people here, right? We know how to dress up if we have to. You're a little bit fancy. So you go to Walmart and you look around for that product for about 5 minutes, maybe 10. You can't find it. So you get frustrated. You're already out of bed. Then you go looking for somebody to help you. You can't find them. So what do? You leave. Exactly. You leave, you go down the corner, around the corner, whatever, you go to another store, you pick up the product, you go home, you make a big scene at home. But because you're a fancy person, and you've done some work with Walmart, and you work in a business, and you think you know how customer service and experience is supposed to work, you write a letter to the board of directors at Walmart. And what happens when the board reads that letter? What happens next is critical to the future of Walmart. Because what they should do, right, is they should all be bumping knuckles and high-fiving each other and saying, look, this person is upset because they couldn't find product and they couldn't find anybody to help them. That's at the bottom of our list. We agreed that we would be disproportionately bad at those things. So they should be having a party saying our strategy's working. But the second that somebody in that boardroom calls that store and says, I never want to let that happen to another one of our customers again, the strategy's broken. And she will submit that that is the start of the end of the company, which is pretty compelling because she's got a lot more degrees and a lot more experience than I do talking about it. But I know I've been in that situation. You can't have it both ways. So in the era of shrinking budgets, tight headcounts, all of that stuff, daring to be bad, prioritizing, and dealing with the circumstances, living with the consequences, is critical. So it also speaks to the alignment between sales and marketing, right? Because you can't be perfect. 5? Okay. Be even less than that. But you can't have the sales team out there talking about price and selling on price while the marketing team is out there speaking about quality and service. The disconnect doesn't work. You don't leverage each other. So let me give you a couple of actionable insights. These are pretty basic, but I thought it would be good to at least just have something to think about. If you're a salesperson, get a social media tune-up. Figure it out. Find somebody that's good at it. You all need to become adept at social media tools. The fact that everybody's hand didn't go up when you said, are you on Twitter this morning, Gerhard? That's a problem. I mean, it's a problem if you want to stay employed and continue to make money and stay ahead of the curve and be successful, I think. And maybe it's not Twitter, but it's the up-and-coming things. Sure, maybe you can get by, but don't ego it. Develop a social selling strategy. At a minimum, research, and a lot of people did this with me, and I was impressed, but research all the people you're going to meet. All the customers and prospects you're going to go out and meet, research them. LinkedIn, Twitter, find out what they're talking about, and connect with them if you think they're influential. And then gain alignment with marketing on what you think is successful, what success looks like. And if you're in marketing, look at your plan. Make sure your plan is flexible and adaptable that meets the needs of the business, right? And be thinking about the new engagement models. Be pushing on sales to let you in there and talk about the new social selling and the capabilities that you can bring them. It's really valuable. And again, agree on what success looks like, but also talk about what you're not able to do. I guarantee you that your marketing organization isn't just flush with cash, even though everybody thinks that you are. It goes pretty quickly. So 20-some years ago, I started my sales career with IBM. And my title was marketing representative. So I was in a sales job, bag-carrying sales job, and my title was marketing representative. So I'm just wondering if maybe, somehow, over time, we've done too much as different disciplines to try to go live in our own unique silo and haven't leveraged the complement of what we can bring together. So the beauty of all this is everything I talked about is available here, now. It's really your choice. Hopefully you'll be back here next year, and you'll choose to transform as opposed to the alternative, which we all know what that is. But I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much for the time, maybe a couple extra minutes. And I hope you're all very, very successful. Take care.